Nathan had always considered himself a trusting husband. For the past 8 years, he and Emily had shared a seemingly unshakable bond. But recently, something had changed. Emily's newfound enthusiasm for the gym, the way she spent hours perfecting her appearance before heading out, and her glowing, distracted demeanor when she returned, all of it gnawed at him. He told himself not to overthink it, but doubt crept in like a shadow he couldn't escape. That evening, Nathan found himself sitting in his car, parked a safe distance from the gym Emily frequented. The parking lot was alive with the comings and goings of gym-goers, their chatter filling the crisp night air. Emily's car was there, confirming her story, but Nathan couldn't shake the unease brewing in his chest. He watched as groups of people exited the building, some laughing, others rushing to their cars. Then he saw her. Emily stepped out into the fluorescent glow, her face lit with a smile he hadn't seen in months. But she wasn't alone. Walking beside her was a tall, broad-shouldered man with an easy confidence. Nathan's stomach churned as he saw Emily touch the man's arm and laugh. The sight was a gut punch, his worst fears taking shape before his eyes. Nathan gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white as he struggled to process what he was seeing. Emily, his wife, the woman he thought he knew so well, walked hand in hand with another man. The casual intimacy between them spoke volumes. She leaned into him, her laughter ringing out as if they were the only two people in the world. The sight felt surreal, a cruel play unfolding before his eyes. He had to remind himself to breathe as a wave of betrayal crashed over him. Every late-night gym session Emily had gushed about, every excuse she'd made for her absence during their evening routines, now felt like a lie. His mind raced through the past few weeks, searching for signs he might have missed. How long had this been going on? Was this just a fling, or had she built an entirely separate life with this stranger? Nathan's instincts screamed at him to confront them then and there, but he held back. Charging in would only create a scene, and he needed answers, not a public spectacle. Forcing himself to stay composed, he started the car and followed them at a distance. His headlights dimmed. They crossed the lot, their footsteps echoing in the still night, and stopped at a nearby diner. The warm glow from the diner's windows offered a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Nathan. He parked across the street and watched them settle into a booth near the window. Emily sat opposite the man, her posture relaxed, her face animated as they talked. The man, Liam, as Nathan overheard from a brief exchange with his Hez, reached across the table, brushing Emily's hand with his. She didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled, a look of warmth and affection that Nathan hadn't seen directed at him in far too long. His heart clenched, torn between heartbreak and rage. He couldn't believe this was the same woman he had vowed to spend his life with. Emily had always been the center of his world, her laughter, her quirks, even her stubbornness. Now, seeing her share such an intimate moment with another man, he felt like a stranger looking in on a life he didn't recognize. Nathan pulled out his phone, his hands trembling as he snapped a photo of the scene. The image of Emily, smiling at another man over coffee, burned into his memory. It was undeniable proof of her betrayal, but it also felt like a dagger to the heart. As he sat there, he began to question everything. Had he been too distant, too focused on work? Had she sought comfort elsewhere because of something he had done or failed to do? But no, he quickly reminded himself, this wasn't about him. Whatever the reasons, Emily had made her choice, and it had led her here. Feeling the weight of the moment pressed down on him, Nathan decided he couldn't bear to watch any longer. His emotions churned, pain, anger, and a deep sense of loss. As he drove away, the photo on his phone felt heavier than any confrontation could have been. It was proof not only of her infidelity, but of the cracks in their marriage he could no longer ignore. Nathan sat in his car for hours after leaving the diner, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The photo he had taken felt like a burning brand in his pocket, a weight he couldn't ignore. Every glance at it brought fresh waves of anger, hurt, and confusion. By the time he pulled into the driveway of their modest suburban home, his thoughts had settled on one undeniable truth. This wasn't something he could avoid any longer. Emily needed to explain herself, and he needed to hear the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The house was quiet when he stepped inside, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound greeting him. Emily's gym bag sat by the door, a small reminder of the double life she'd been living. Nathan took a deep breath, steadying himself. He wasn't prone to anger, but tonight he felt like a volcano teetering on the edge of eruption. Still, he wanted to confront her with a clear head. Emily appeared moments later, her face lighting up with a practiced smile that now felt hollow. "Hey, you're up late," she said, her voice casual as she slipped off her sneakers. Nathan stared at her, searching for the woman he thought he knew. "We need to talk," he said, his tone calm but laced with an edge that stopped her in her tracks. Emily's smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. "What's going on?" she asked, her eyes scanning his face. He didn't answer immediately, instead pulling out his phone and opening the photo. He handed it to her without a word, watching as her expression shifted from confusion to shock. The blood drained from her face, and for a moment she seemed unable to speak. "Nathan," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Don't," he interrupted, his voice rising slightly. "Don't lie to me, Emily. I sat in that parking lot tonight. I saw you with him. I followed you to the diner, and I took that picture." Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at him, but Nathan felt no sympathy. He had spent weeks, maybe months, questioning himself, doubting her, and trying to piece together the distance that had grown between them. Now, he was done questioning. He needed answers. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice shaking. "Then what is it?" Nathan snapped. "Because from where I stood, it looked like my wife was on a date with someone else, someone she's been lying about for who knows how long." Emily's tears began to fall, but Nathan refused to let them sway him. "I trusted you, Emily. I've spent years building a life with you, and now this, sneaking around, lying to my face every time you said you were going to the gym?" She opened her mouth to speak, but he held up a hand to stop her. "And don't give me excuses. I deserve the truth, all of it. Who is he? And how long has this been going on?" The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy and unrelenting. For the first time, Emily seemed to realize the depth of the damage she had caused. Emily's tears fell freely now, but Nathan's hardened expression didn't waver. He stood across the room, arms crossed, waiting for the truth she had been so desperate to hide. She clutched the phone in her trembling hands, staring at the damning photo, unable to meet his eyes. Silence stretched between them, heavy and suffocating. Finally, she broke. "His name is Liam," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "He's a personal trainer at the gym." Nathan exhaled sharply, his chest tightening. He already knew the answers to most of his questions, but hearing her confirm them felt like reopening a wound. "And how long, Emily?" he demanded, his tone sharp enough to make her flinch. 2 months, she whispered. Her gaze flickered upward, pleading, "Nathan, it wasn't supposed to be like this. I never meant for it to happen." "Never meant for it to happen," he repeated bitterly, his voice rising. "You mean you didn't plan to betray me? You didn't plan to go behind my back and humiliate me?" Emily recoiled at his words, the weight of his anger hitting her like a physical blow. "Oh, I didn't think," she started, but Nathan cut her off. "No, you didn't think. Or maybe you did and you just didn't care." His voice cracked with emotion, the raw pain evident despite his effort to stay composed. "Do you have any idea what it's like to sit in a parking lot, watching your wife laugh and hold hands with someone else? To see the woman you love sharing a part of herself that she's kept hidden from you?" Emily sobbed, her hands shaking as she set the phone down on the counter. "It wasn't about you, Nathan," she said, her voice breaking. "I swear it wasn't about us. I felt lost, like I was stuck in this routine and I didn't know how to get out of it. Liam, he made me feel alive again. I was scared," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I thought if I told you, you'd just brush it off. You wouldn't understand." Nathan shook his head, his jaw clenched. "You didn't even give me a chance. You made the choice to betray me before I even knew there was a problem." Emily dropped her head into her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't erase what you've done," Nathan said, his voice cold. "It doesn't undo the lies or the pain you've caused. The question now is, what are we supposed to do about it?" Emily looked up at him, desperation in her eyes, but Nathan wasn't sure he could see the woman he'd once loved through the betrayal that now defined her. The silence that followed Nathan's question was almost unbearable. Emily stood motionless, her tears drying on her cheeks as she stared at him, searching for the words that might undo the damage. But no words could erase what had been done. Nathan knew that, and judging by the hollow look in her eyes, so did she. "I don't know," she finally whispered, her voice fragile. "I don't know what to say, Nathan. I've ruined everything." Nathan turned away from her, running a hand through his hair. He paced the room, the anger that had driven him here now mingling with a deep, gnawing sorrow. "You didn't just ruin everything, Emily," he said, his voice strained. "You ruined us. You broke the trust that held this marriage together, and now you're standing there telling me you don't know what to do?" Emily took a hesitant step toward him. "I'll do anything to fix this," she said, her voice trembling. "Please, Nathan, I know I've hurt you, but I don't want to lose you." Nathan froze, her words cutting through him. Did she truly mean that? Or was this just another desperate attempt to salvage her image of their life together? His thoughts spiraled as he recalled the laughter she had shared with Liam, the way she had looked at him with an openness and warmth that felt foreign now. Could he ever trust her again? Could he ever look at her without seeing the betrayal? "I don't know if that's possible," he said finally, his voice quiet but firm. "You want to fix this? Then explain to me how. How am I supposed to forget what I saw? How am I supposed to look at you and not wonder if you're thinking about him?" Emily's breath hitched. "It wasn't love," she said quickly, as if that would soften the blow. "I swear, Nathan, it wasn't love. It was a mistake, a stupid, selfish mistake. You have to believe me." "Believe you?" Nathan said bitterly, turning to face her. "How can I believe anything you say now? Every time you went to the gym, every time you kissed me good night, it was all a lie. How do I move forward with someone who's capable of that?" Emily clutched her arms around herself, her composure unraveling. "I don't know. I don't have an answer. All I can say is that I love you and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right." Nathan let her words hang in the air. Did she love him? Or was this love only a hollow shell of what it once had been? He thought of all the moments they had shared. Holidays, quiet evenings on the couch, the little routines that had once felt so solid and dependable. Now they felt like fragments of a life that had shattered. "I need time," he said finally, his voice weary. "Time to figure out if this is even worth saving." "Oh," said Pickett, leaning back. "Oh." Emily nodded, her tears flowing again. "Wait," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Whatever it takes." Nathan didn't respond. He turned and walked upstairs, leaving Emily alone in the empty silence of a house that no longer felt like home. For the first time, Nathan realized that their future wasn't something he could decide in a single night. It was a question that only time and the scars of her betrayal could answer.